Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. It's time for another monthly Q&A episode. The April Q&A is today. It technically should have been last week, but I just wanted to get the podcast episode with Nikki Hinson out. So I thought, you know what, we'll just push it back to this week. So as always, I asked you guys to ask me any questions that you wanted me to answer on my Instagram story, and as usual you guys delivered with lots and lots of fun questions. So today we're going to be covering topics such as teaching a jump cue, acquiring sponsors, balancing businesses and more. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Before we jump into it, let me give you my weekly recap. As per, I taught a workshop which was super fun, an evening workshop, getting used to teaching kind of later at night. As you guys know, probably by what I've said before, I am a nice early night kind of gal. But I'm quite enjoying my sort of into the night workshop, so that's good. I also recorded the podcast episode with Dr. Vicky Fraser, who is the Team GB vet. We discussed preventing and rehabilitating injuries in agility dogs, which was super interesting. And that episode will be out next week. So a week today, that will be live. So make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss that one. That was super interesting, and I think everyone who's anything to do with agility will benefit from listening to that. What else did I do? I also judged at Agility Nuts, and that was a super fun day. Really nice venue at Walesby Forest. I've never been there before, but yeah, I really did enjoy that. Both of my I only had 2 courses, and both of them went really well. Again, they both went down exactly as planned, which is always nice, and I'm super happy with how they ran. You can find my course plans on social media at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark if you'd like to look at them. But a lot of the 1 to 3 dogs actually bailed the dog walk after seeming to mistake the up plank for a seesaw. Obviously, I double, triple and quadruple checked the approach with multiple people, and we all came to the conclusion that it definitely was not that. Well, it was obvious that it wasn't that just by looking at it. And that it instead was either due to inexperience on softline contacts, because it was Gallican at the show, or getting spooked by the moving shadow of the trees on the up plank. So just how the dog walk was positioned in the ring, the trees were casting like dancing shadows on that part. All of the 6 to 7 dogs that followed were absolutely fine. So it was something to do with the lower grade dogs. But anyway, yeah, no, it was a super fun day, and we finished by 2:30, and it was such a nice day that we came home early and chilled out in the sun, and yeah, it was a super good day. Honestly, I wish I could finish at 2:30 every single time I judged. My ring party was just fabulous. We just smashed through it. Following day, I competed at Agility Nuts, but I had to teach in the afternoon, so we only managed to do 1 agility run, me and Arrow, but it was... Oh, I was so happy with it. Again, it's on my social media if you want to watch it. He literally gave me one of the best seasons he's ever done, and it was on Gallican. So that literally made my month. Yeah, I'm just so pleased with him. He proper sped to the bottom. He was going so fast that I was like, yeah, he's coming off. But he didn't. He stopped on perfectly at the end. So I was thrilled with that. He just knocked the first pole. His dog walk was high, but honestly, I'm just happy with the seesaw. Dog walk, it was a slight turn, I suppose, and it was right at the start of the course, so I'm not worried. But yeah, that seesaw absolutely made my month. Like I said, our current goals are to fix our seesaw and start feeling in sync again, both of which we achieved in that 1 run. So I was really pleased with that. Obviously, it was the first outdoor show of the season for us. And yeah, it's just got me so excited for what's to come this year. And yeah, that was literally amazing. That run felt fantastic. I mean, as I've told you guys at Wire, and, you know, even a bit of GB tryouts and stuff, I've just felt a bit disconnected from him. But this run felt like we were proper getting back into the swing of it and really feeling in sync again. Oh, voice break, which was amazing. I knew it would come back, but I didn't know how long it'd take, but I think it's already happening. So happy days. Last weekly recap, something exciting that I cannot and will not share yet, but there is something very exciting in the pipelines, which is a work in progress, but yeah, I'm really excited to share that with you, hopefully in the not too distant future. some of you may have guessed by some of the things that I've put on social media lately and questions I've been asking. But anyway, so yeah, something exciting is coming. So stay tuned for kind of an announcement, hopefully coming within the next few months. But without further ado, let's get into the Q&A. So we've got 15 questions that I've picked again that you guys have asked. And the first one is, I have an 8-month-old Springer Spaniel. How do I kickstart our agility journey? So this is a great question. The first thing that you need to do is find a reputable in-person instructor or online coach to guide you, because there's no point doing it all on your own. There's no point starting, and not having a clue what you're doing when you could just get some guidance to make the whole process easier, more effective, more likely to work, and just more enjoyable as well. There's nothing worse than doing something on your own that you're not sure if you're doing it right. That's a horrible feeling. So yeah, finding someone to help you who is experienced, reputable, knows what they're doing, has the credentials behind them, etc. Also nail the foundations and don't rush the process. So there's no point rushing your training. At 8 months old, it's all about, you need to get those foundations nailed. The really basic stuff. Again, your instructor or coach will give you those foundation exercises to do, or you can look them up yourself. But again, they're more likely to be correct and effective from a professional. But yeah, you've got to nail those foundations, prioritise those. Don't try to rush off to the more advanced sort of quote-unquote sexy stuff too early. If you have all your foundations in place, then you're pretty much going to find everything that comes after that way easier and way more enjoyable, and it'll just work so much better. Train behaviours in isolation at home. So your foundations, you can do all that at home with probably minimal equipment, to be honest. You can literally do like several little short sessions in a day, stuff like that, just to get and build a relationship with you and your puppy as well. You want to make sure that you have that strong, solid relationship between you both, and then everything kind of comes from that within agility. That is the core of every successful agility partnership. So just focus on developing your bond between you, nailing the foundations, and just don't forget to live life and take your dog places, get that socialisation in, get that play drive, stuff like that, all the fun stuff. It's a really fun age. And yeah, keep sessions short and reinforcement high. So keep session, don't drag the sessions on and on, because you and your dog will get bored and frustrated. And we don't want that kind of negative association with training for either of you. And then keep reinforcement high. So, lots and lots of reward. Find your dog's favourite reward, whether that's a certain type of treat or toy. And keep yourself in good spirits, excitable. If you're really not feeling it one day, it's better to just not train than potentially have a negative session. That's super important. Also, to bust the myth, you do not have to end on a good rep or a perfect rep. You can stop the session whenever you please, even if your dog's done it wrong. It's better to end a session than keep pushing on for something that's just not getting achieved, and frustrating both of you and creating that negative association. Like I said, if your dog fails something, 2 or 3 times in a row, just make it easier. Take a step back and ask them for the easier previous stage in that behaviour. Reward that and end the session. Yeah. Another thing is to find somewhere to train or hire equipment regularly once your dog is old enough to start sequencing and course running. So yeah, you do want to make sure that you and your dog can practice longer sequences, more, not longer necessarily, but sort of sequences with more space between equipment to really practice that acceleration and deceleration. So you want to find somewhere, hopefully semi-local, that you can go to regularly to train on, good equipment that you're going to see later down the line in competition. So that is pretty much how you should kickstart your agility journey and progress through it. But yeah, the main thing there is to find someone to help you. Question 2 is, that was my stomach. Question 2 is, how do you become an agility instructor and judge? So an instructor, you need to obviously first and foremost gain experience and have enough experience and credentials behind you to pass on to other people, if that makes sense. Like, you have to be very knowledgeable, very experienced, and good at what you do to instruct others. Then obviously you have to buy or rent a venue with suitable ground to train on that's safe to train on ground-wise. So obviously nice and flat, not holey or, bumpy, stuff like that. And also not boggy at all, ideally. So if it rains, it's not going to be like puddles because that's unsafe. You also need to buy or rent a set of equipment, obviously. Then you need to market your business effectively to build a client base. So you can use social media, like local pages. You've got Agility Net training diary, stuff like that. It's good to put on training days or maybe collaborate with other trainers. And then obviously the boring bits. So ensure legalities are in place, such as planning permission, business insurance, etc. All of those basic stuff. I am very fortunate that my dad spent the majority of his life being self-employed. So he does help me with a lot of the sort of more behind the scenes admin-y legality kind of aspects of running your own business and being self-employed. But obviously there are professionals out there that can help you with all that sort of stuff. So to become a judge, you have to first pass an online assessment. Then once you've passed that, if you fail, I think you have to wait a week and take it again. You then attend an in-person seminar and pass a practical assessment. So the practical assessment, it's usually 2 days, I think, the judges' in-person seminars. And it's basically you're getting taught throughout the day. And then at the end of the weekend, you have to do a practical assessment where you design a course in a group, set the course, and then judge it. And that's your practical assessment, is judging the course. Then once you've passed and you're a certified judge, you can advertise yourself as a judge. So obviously using social media mainly, and wait for appointment invitations. I mean, you should see them come through, within a few months, I'd say, of advertising yourself as a qualified judge. But also don't be afraid to reach out to shows and offer yourself as a judge. That goes a long way too. Again, you don't get necessarily if you don't ask. So yeah, it's worth reaching out to shows and show organisers and just saying, hey, I'm a newly qualified judge and I'd love to judge at your show if you ever need me. Question 3, how do I stop my nerves at shows? I'm literally sick and it doesn't help my dog or my ability to remember the course. This is really tough. Nerves are super common, but I'm not sure how common literally being sick. By literally being sick, do you mean you physically vomit? Because that's horrendous. And I have a phobia of vomit. If I was vomiting, I would really struggle because I have a phobia of being sick. I don't know why. I always have done. I'm not sick often, touch wood. Did you hear that? I was touching wood. But yeah, I would really struggle with that. So I feel for you, and that does suck. But don't give up. Enter as many shows as possible to gain experience, and the nerves will lessen with time. Okay, they will lessen. It just is what it is. And again, the more shows you do, say the more entry-level, local, smaller shows you do, then they become less nerve-wracking, and then you'll enter bigger shows and they'll feel a bit more nerve-wracking. But then if you enter bigger shows after those, the middle ground shows will feel less nerve-wracking, and the local shows that you're currently getting nervous at will feel like nothing. They'll feel like just training. Do you get what I mean? So you just got to gain that experience, push through. But yeah, know that with experience, it will get better, and just push through in the meantime. But to be honest, they are normal, and I still experience them before an important run. I do get that nervous butterfly sick feeling. Obviously, I'm not actually sick, but yeah, that doesn't happen to me, luckily. But yeah, I do have that same feeling, so I do know what you mean. And then try to reframe them as excitement and a necessary way for your body and mind to prepare you to perform at your best. So we do need that reaction in our bodies. It's totally normal. It's kind of the fight or flight response, and you're going to fight by obviously stepping into the ring and competing. But yeah, just kind of think, thank you, body, for preparing me to run really well now, because that nervous feeling, your body is primed and your senses are heightened, all the things, and without that you wouldn't be as alert and on it in the ring. So you do need that feeling, but try, when you feel those physical sensations of nerves, think, That's not nerves, that's excitement and adrenaline, and it's necessary. Because it is. Nerves, excitement, adrenaline, all the same thing, technically, okay? So try and reframe it in your mind. Again, you've got to practice mindset kind of exercises and stuff, but that's something, again, that comes with experience. I do have an episode on the psychology behind competitive sport with a professional psychologist. I believe that's what it's called. The psychology of or behind competitive sport. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, you can go find that. Just type in psychology, I think, into the Pause in Pursuit podcast search, and you will find the episode. That is really helpful, and I really do recommend listening to that if you haven't already. What does your EO prep look like at this stage? So honestly, everything's normal at the moment because, as most of you probably know, me and Arrow are kind of at that stage where we are just trying to get back into the swing of competing and running together and stuff. So at the moment, we're still just doing our weekly group class on a Wednesday. At the moment, I'm doing a daily 5 to 10 minute jump cue session in the garden, as you guys have probably seen. More on that later. And then now I've got a show most weekends, usually just one day at the moment, but it's going to ramp up to 2 days in a few weeks, I believe. Again, Arrow is one of those dogs that the more he does show-wise, the better he is and the better he runs. Not all dogs are like that. I was actually talking to one of my online coaching students recently about this, and she believes her dog is more the opposite, like Ethel was, which is where if you have a break, the dog comes back way more fiery, way faster, way more motivated and driven. Ethel was the same, whereas Arrow, he is way better when he is doing it regularly because he gets used to it, because obviously he's of a nervous disposition. So they're all different, but yeah, shows most weekends works for us. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. Obviously it'll ramp up and get more EO specific. It's starting to ramp up in that sense. But yeah, at the moment we're still just trying to get our groove back after our break. Why are you teaching Arrow a jump cue now? Isn't it too late? So no, it's never too late to teach your dog a new skill. Arrow is 5.5 and he is picking it up brilliantly, and we've only done it for a couple of weeks, if that. No, a week, I think. I believe it will help him with his obstacle discrimination when he is faced with the choice between a jump and a different obstacle, because I've always just said go, but technically go could mean either, because we often find ourselves saying go all the time. So go tunnel or go weave or go on the dog walk for some people. So say if you've got a jump and a tunnel and you say go, that could mean a tunnel, because you could say go tunnel, tunnel go, if that makes sense. Whereas if you say jump, it couldn't mean anything else but the jump. There's no association with the tunnel to that word at all. So that's why I'm teaching him a jump cue, because he often does and has in the past struggled with obstacle discrimination, because he just, especially with tunnels, he just likes to take them. And he's one of those dogs that kind of likes to guess what he should do. Which is great because he's not clingy. He's not a quote unquote Velcro dog. He's independent, which is great now, especially after he was so the opposite when he was nervous. But it also means he does like to guess and take things that he shouldn't take, especially on the kind of more European style courses where there's lots of obstacles kind of together in a course, grouped together when there's layering involved and stuff. But yeah, that is why I'm teaching a jump cue, and that is part of our EO prep, obviously, because I want that nice and solid for EO, and he's already picked it up so well. So we're going to keep doing that until EO and, well, forever, obviously. But yeah, that is a big part of our EO prep, and just us getting better as a partnership and in agility in general. Hopefully it'll help us in other stuff like champ and all the other stuff we've got going on, qualifiers, etc. this season. This is an interesting one. So how do you deal with the thought that people may be talking behind your back as a judge? So I have actually experienced this multiple times, and tell you what, nothing awful happened. I didn't die. It was fine. You've got to remember that these people are rarely judges themselves, or anyone relevant, particularly relevant within the agility community, and usually wouldn't dare put themselves out there in the way that you do when you're judging, which speaks for itself if you think about it. you've just got to accept it as human nature and stay blissfully unaware, because if it's behind your back and you don't know about it, it really doesn't matter. If you get told, which I have before, that people are doing it, just think, okay, well, it didn't affect me at all. And just try and forget about it. Honestly, it's not that big a deal if you reframe it as just human nature. You know, it's probably the jealousy or just people having way too much time on their hands, busy bodies, whatever. Yeah, just, I promise you, it doesn't matter. It happens to all of us, but yeah. You can even tell people close to you or friends or family, look, if you hear anyone talking behind my back about my courses or anything, just don't tell me. And then you don't have to know about it, if that makes sense. Someone said, how did you acquire your sponsors? I actually have a lot of people ask me how I got my sponsors, but all of them, I literally emailed them to request sponsorship, bar one that reached out to me and offered to sponsor me, but the others, I emailed them and requested sponsorship with a list of my achievements within agility to date and a paragraph explaining what I was willing to do for them in return for sponsorship. And the worst they could say is no. In the past, I have had a few companies say no because they just couldn't. It wasn't something they offered. But a few of them did end up actually sending me some free stuff of theirs. So it was a win. It was still a win. And like I said, the worst they can say is no, we can't do that. Or no, we're already sponsoring someone else in agility and don't want to sponsor. You know, we don't have the resources to sponsor anyone else, or they might just not reply. And I've had that too, and that's absolutely fine. But again, you don't get if you don't ask, unless someone reaches out to you, unless a company does that. But yeah, most of mine, all but one, I have emailed them, I've reached out and requested it. And yeah, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have them. So blah, 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 blah. What do you do on a non-agility weekend? I'm struggling to have somewhat of a life outside of the sport. I think this is quite common because it's very all-encompassing, isn't it? It is literally, it's very addictive and it takes up a lot of time, money, energy. It does become your whole life and it is very much mine. However, on a non-agility weekend, I still make sure that I'm doing plenty of stuff. So obviously my second hobby after agility is the gym and lifting weights. So I obviously do that. Again, as you guys probably know, I love to go to coffee shops and restaurants with friends and family, always at a coffee shop. Going out for food, I'm a big foodie, so that is a big interest of mine. Obviously walk arrow, as you do anyway. Read, I like reading. I create social media content, so obviously I am a bit of a content creator myself, so I spend time, planning, filming for and creating that social media content that I post. I'll maybe be working on the podcast on a weekend, for example, planning future episodes or ideas or reaching out to potential guests. Obviously shopping with friends and family, as you do. And then often as well, on a weekend when I'm not competing, I am working. So either dog walking or teaching agility. So I don't know, I guess that doesn't really count as a non-agility weekend, but it is technically my work. I'm not doing it that's not me doing it as my hobby, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do on a non-agility weekend, and I have really learnt to enjoy a non-agility weekend. Like, I love doing all those things, and it is nice to just decompress, chill, and not have to get up at the crack of dawn as well, which is always nice for a change. But yeah, lots of things to do. Just be creative and enjoy it. How is your foot doing? Thank you for asking. It is completely fine now. Like I said before, it sometimes does ache a little bit if I'm super busy, but only for a very short period of time. Literally, I'm talking like 10 minutes maybe at a time. I barely notice it, and I'm back to doing everything I did before I broke it, albeit more carefully. If you are new to the podcast, I did get a metatarsal stress fracture in September last year. So yeah, I just do everything a bit more carefully, in the sense of being really careful not to overdo my body and overwork my body and over-exercise and stuff. That's what I mean by more carefully, because I definitely was doing too much before I broke it, hence the stress fracture. So yeah, that has taught me not to do that and to just take a step back, chill, and just look after my body a bit more. But yeah, all good for that, completely fine. honestly, thank God that period of my life is over. It was awful, but you know what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And I do have a renewed sense of gratitude for everything that I do. Even, you know, especially agility, but even like just walking arrow, basic stuff like that I couldn't do when it was broken. Do you prefer teaching agility or dog walking, and how do you balance two separate businesses? So yes, I do have two businesses. I have my agility, I'm an agility instructor, so I have that business, and then I also have a dog walking business, and both are fairly busy, to be honest, but I prefer teaching, and my goal is to eventually do this full time, obviously, because I'm passionate about agility and teaching what I've learned over my 12, 13 years in the sport to other people, and watching my students progress. There's nothing more satisfying and fulfilling than that. But I do enjoy dog walking on the side, just to earn a bit of extra money. You know, I get to spend time with dogs. I love walking, especially with the nice weather that we've been having lately. So I do love both. But yeah, teaching is my main goal. And I do prefer that. I balance two businesses by scheduling my days and weeks in advance, and keeping a colour-coded digital and paper diary or calendar, whatever you want to call it. I am a super organised type A individual. I'm one of those people that has a to-do list for the day in their notes app every single day. And then I also have my calendar on my phone, and I also have a paper calendar. So that is how I basically balance the two businesses, to make sure I don't sort of double book or run myself into the ground one day, you know, trying to balance each day over the week. But yeah, that is how I'm managing that at the moment, and it is going pretty smoothly. So that works for me. How do you set up heavy equipment when you're on your own? So I take my time. I seem to be a little bit prone to injury, so it is very important that I don't do anything silly. I also make sure I use proper lifting techniques, for example, knees instead of back, bracing my core, etc. Again, helps that I'm a gym gal and I weightlift, so I I'm a bit stronger than I would be, or significantly stronger than I would be if I didn't lift weights, which helps for lifting equipment. And also that I know the proper lifting techniques because of the gym. So that does help. But again, I'm not a big person. I'm still quite petite and small. There's some things that I just cannot do. So my mum will sometimes come and help me, or I'll ask my students to give me a hand if necessary. Do not try to lift something that you cannot lift on your own. That's silly. You will hurt yourself. So don't do that. Get the help when you need it. And use your proper lifting techniques when you are lifting things by yourself. But yeah, be very, very careful, and don't try to lift something that's just too heavy for you. Everyone's different. Again, you know your limits. How do I stop my dog from overthinking the weaves? It really slows him down. So this is a very apt question, because Arrow is exactly this, and this happened to him. He had a phase of walking through the weaves, and then he'd often pop out the 10th. Again, nerves, he'd just overthink it. So my advice is to go back to basics, open the channel. So I used the channel weave method to teach Arrow the weaves. 2x2 I don't have any experience with, so I can't really advise that, but I assume going back to basics would be going back to just having the two weaves at the start of that process, just having that entry and practicing that. But like I said, I don't have experience doing that, so I'll just talk about channel weaves. So yeah, open the channels back up and prioritise achieving forward focus and drive through them. With time, your dog will learn that nothing awful happens when they do the weaves, and that they're actually really fun as long as you make them so. So that's back to what I was saying in an earlier question about, you know, keeping reinforcement high and sessions short and being really upbeat and fun. Also, don't be afraid to reopen the channel every now and again to reinforce drive. So even when your dog can weave and the channels are closed, every now and again you can reopen them. Like, that is absolutely fine. And just have a few sessions where you just, you know, that is a forward focus and drive session, if that makes sense. And yeah, keep your schedule of reinforcement high and sessions short, obviously. Don't get frustrated at your dog for making a mistake in them. This is huge. You want your dog to associate weaves with fun and happiness, and not stress and, my mum gets mad at me. So do not get mad at your dog or frustrated for making a mistake in them. And if your dog keeps making a mistake in them, do not keep making them do it until they get it right. Make it easier, or ask them for something super simple and end the session and try again the next day. It's just not worth it. I want to retrain from a stop to a running dog walk. Where do I begin? So I tried to retrain Ethel from a stop to a running dog walk and it just didn't work. For whatever reason, she just didn't understand it. I don't think it helps that she doesn't really have the build for it. She doesn't kind of have that split stride. She's quite a quote unquote bobbly little dog. She's quite square, if that makes sense. She doesn't move like, say, Arrow moves, for example. But I used the same method to retrain Ethel to running as I have done to train Arrow running from scratch. It's worked beautifully with Arrow, and Ethel just didn't understand it. So some dogs, it just doesn't suit, but it's definitely worth trying. I'm really glad I did try with her, because then at least I knew. So you want to start by obviously introducing your dog to the mat through shaping. So having the mat in front, you probably know how to do that already, but having the mat in front of you and just introducing that on its own as a behaviour, and build massive value for the mat on cue. So eventually you can obviously add that cue, and you want your dog to hear the cue and be like, mat, yes please, and absolutely go crazy to run to it, and just, build huge value for your dog running over that mat and finding it on that cue. If you nail the flat work, so the flat work is obviously the mat on the ground, transitioning to the mat on a plank should be really easy and super quick. Do as much on the flat as you can, and also make sure to use a cue that doesn't sound anything like your stop cue or any other cue that you have, to be honest, for that dog. You want to make sure it's an entirely new behaviour, so there is no confusion, no getting them mixed up, etc. A lot of people have both running and stop behaviours on cue, which is super impressive. I've never done that myself, but it is possible. I'm not sure how those people did it, whether they taught both kind of simultaneously, or one and then the other, or a stop then a run, or a run then a stop. I can't speak for that, but it is possible, and it's definitely worth a shot. I actually do offer a online running dog walk course. So if you're interested in that, it literally takes you from the very start of your running contact journey to the very end, where Arrow is now, with a beautiful running dog walk. So if you're interested in that, please do get in touch and we can have a chat. Message me, that would be fab. How is Ethel doing these days? You should post more about her online. This is such a cute question. Ethel is great. She is enjoying her retirement. It is truly the life for her. All she does is sleep, eat, sunbathe, and go for steady walks around the block or to the pub. She's a big pub dog. She loves the pub. I'll try and post more of her. Honestly, she's just so chill. She rarely does anything that I thought would be like social media interesting. But you know what? I'm going to try and post more of her. That is really cute. No, she's great. She's having a great time. She's so cute, bless her. She's like a little Wookiee these days. That's what she reminds me of. Just how she looks and how she moves, bless her. She's happy. She's healthy. Thanks for asking. And the last question is, do you go to the gym and do agility on the same day? So, great question. If I'm course running, I won't go to the gym that same day. I'm very careful not to overwork my body, especially since breaking my foot. I also have a very active job. I'm on my feet. The dog walking, obviously I'm walking. The teaching, I'm on my feet, moving around, moving equipment, stuff like that. So I try to keep my days as balanced as possible throughout the week, exercise-wise. So I'll try and not have loads on one day and nothing on the next, for example, if I can help it. Both weightlifting, which is what I do at the gym, and agility are very strenuous. So I make sure to split them up where I can, which is all the time. Yeah. My weekly split for exercise is as follows. So Monday, I do a bit of cardio, and then at the moment I'm doing a bit of cardio before all of my lifts, because I just need to get back into doing stuff that really gets my heart rate up for my cardiovascular health for agility. I used to street run, but I don't think it suits my body. I've got too many injuries from it. I'm active enough as it is. So at the moment I'm doing either the Stairmaster or row. and just really going for it on there, getting a sweat on, getting my heart rate up. So I start my session with that. So that's Monday, my 5 minutes or however long of cardio. Again, starting 5 minutes, gradually building it up because I don't want to die. I don't want to overdo it. It's all about gradually building it up. So I'll do that. My first legs and glutes workout, and then core on a Monday. Then Tuesday, I do my cardio, shoulders and arms and core. Then Wednesday, I don't go to the gym. I just have my agility session with Lucy. So that's course running. Thursday, back at the gym for my cardio, second legs and glutes workout and core. Friday, cardio, chest and back and core. And then Saturday and Sunday, I don't go to the gym. I'm either doing agility or I'm resting, active rest. So, walk, maybe go for a swim, anything like that. So yeah, I weightlift at the gym 4 times a week. And then agility is at least 2 or 3 of the other days. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, got to be careful not to overdo exercise because I am living proof that it doesn't work. It just doesn't work overdoing it. But guys, that is all the questions. Thank you for tuning in once again. What am I doing coming up? I will tell you. On Saturday, I am at Scunthorpe. I entered it and then I realised that it's on Adam's equipment. So I'm now not doing the agility runs because it's not worth putting Arrow over an Adam seesaw because of his nerves and how different it is. And how it freaks some dogs out. So I'm not bothering doing the agility runs, but I am still going. I have 2 jumping runs. One is the YKC Jumping Cup qualifier for Crufts 2026. So I'm hoping to get that qualification in the bag, done and dusted, start of the year. So that's what we're going for. Then we are going down that same night to stay in a hotel, and then I'm judging at the Edge A for A show on Sunday. My first A for A show, I had to pass a separate judging assessment for that. That's obviously separate to the KC one that I passed a few years ago. So that's really exciting. Rules are a bit different. So yeah, I've had to obviously learn a separate set of rules, but I'm very excited. My courses are ready. They're approved. And I'm looking forward to that. So if any of you guys are there, I will see you there. And if you're running my courses, I hope you enjoy them. So yeah, I'll probably see a lot of you at Scunthorpe or Edge, or both, maybe, if you're like me and you're crazy and you're doing a whole weekend worth of agility. We love it though, don't we? But yeah, that's it for this week, guys. This time next week, the podcast episode with Dr. Vicky Fraser is out. So make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss that, or any future episodes. And also, please do keep sending me your solo topic and guest episode ideas. I pretty much do every single request or suggestion for an episode that you guys give me, I make happen. So please do send me those. I would love to do them for you guys. And if you're feeling generous, please do leave the podcast a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That would mean the world to me. Yeah, make sure you're following the podcast. Also follow me on Spotify. Also follow me on social media. I knew it started with an S. At Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark. I know most of you are already, but yeah, I'm super active on there. You can see what I'm getting up to on stories literally every day. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things, Facebook, literally everything. And I think that's all I say. Is that all I say? I also offer one-to-one online coaching where I will create you a personalised program. I will help you craft a set of goals and work towards achieving them. So if you want help on your agility journey this season, then there is an inquiry form in the description of this podcast episode. Please do fill it out. Again, as I always say, it commits you to nothing, but we can then have a chat and see if it's suitable for you. And no hard feelings if not, but it is worth filling out, isn't it? It is always worth having a chat. So yeah. Send me literally any DMs that you want. If you want any more questions answered that I didn't get answered in this episode, or if you want me to elaborate on anything I've said today, please just shoot me a message and I will be more than happy to do that. And yeah, if you are interested in my running dog walk course, I know we were talking about that earlier, then again, just send me a message and we can have a chat about that. But without further ado, I will let you guys get on with the rest of your either Wednesday evening or whenever you are listening to this. And I will speak to you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Have a great week, guys. Bye.